This is a little aeroplane toy, and unfortunately it's broken. Now, ordinarily you'd, I suppose, throw it away, some people would, or glue it back together again, but I've not had a lot of success gluing plastic bits like this together. So what you can do is use a soldering iron to weld it all together. Now, there's a little tiny plastic bit that's broken off there. So the first thing to do is to work out where it goes, which is like, so I'll arrange it, goes there, and somehow hold it. Easier said than done, as it's flying across the room. In position, so I'll just use a soldering iron to just melt the plastic a bit, and that'll hold it there. So that's now held, or it was, as if it was glued. That's only melting a little bit of the surface, and that's not very strong. As you can see, it fell off again there. That's a bit better. So if I just melt around the crack, which is along there, there seems to be a bit there as well. You can use a heat gun for this, but the real trick is to get a long way into the part and melt as much of the two pieces together as possible. So that's sort of back on. That then goes, where does that go? That then goes on there, like, oops, let's rotate that round a bit, get that out of the way. That goes on there like that, which is over a screw. So if we melt the front, we should join it together. This is a very small part, and it's not going to end up particularly strong, I suspect, because there isn't enough material to melt into really. So if we melt those together and then build the features back up that were there before. So I've got two little mounds on either side of the soldering iron. You melt those back together again, that provides the weld. There we go. And whoops, fallen off. What's that one there? That's the part that I welded on originally, hasn't joined together. So I'll give that a bit more of a melt. I think the iron isn't quite hot enough. I've got it at 208, I think it needs to be up a few degrees. Let's go to 220. So it's a sort of case of melt them together and then fill in the hole where you've delved into the part. What I also do is I use a bit of PLA filament and just use that to pack out any holes that I've made. That's still too cold. I think we need 230. This is just, it's a different colour, but it's a lot lighter than putting white in. So let's turn it round, and there's a gap in there, very large gap. I'm going to fill that up with PLA. Must be cold this morning. I think I need to go up to 240, get it to flow nicely. There's a bit in there, need some more. It's best not to move something like that until it's cooled, because it's so soft that it will just move around. It's looking fairly strong. It's cooled down quite a bit, I think. So there we go, we've got an arm that's working again. It's not usually pretty, but it is there. Obviously if you tread on it or something like that, it'll just fall off again. So what we could do to make it a bit stronger, we could fill that gap there. A lot of these toys are full of voids, but to save on plastic, I assume, we could fill in there, which would make it a bit stronger. So I could fill the inside of that with some PLA. I'm going to go even hotter for that, because I want quite a lot to melt. It's like manipulating a half-tube toffee. Messy. There you go, so that's filled with a bit of reinforcing PLA in that void, and there's no void in there anymore. Clean the tip off or it'll stink after a while. And then you can always use a hot air gun just to get rid of any strings of plastic. It'll also melt the surface, give it a bit of a smoother finish. So there we go. It's a bit more fixed than it was. Not quite as broken. I can fold his little arms behind him and take off and bring the arms back down if need be. There you go.